Welcome to Freedom Window. I am going to talk about Florida in this video and what the early vote's looking like and what the projection is looking like right now. If you like these videos, please give me a like, give me a subscribe. All right, let's get into this. First thing, let's look at the polls in Florida. Trump is slightly ahead according to the pollsters. By my average, he's up by 2. Basically, it's been a dead heat in Florida for a while now. You can always go to my website, freedomwindow.net. I keep all the averages. I keep my own chart here, and I keep the pollsters chart here. Compare them at the end. See who did better. Usually, I do better, but we'll see what happens this year. So just look at the most recent polls there to give you a sense. The polls are saying it's a dead heat. Now, what are we doing to estimate, to project what's going to happen on Election Day? Well, let's start here with this chart of the polls. Looked at polls in Florida, 5 here specifically, all of which estimated what was the early turnout going to look like with respect to Republicans, with respect to Democrats, and independents. And it estimated how many Republicans would turn out early to vote by mail, which is 21.4%, how many Democrats, 51.8%. And I take those numbers and I build a spreadsheet around them, the point of which is to take that first number that we're going to get that's the closest to complete, closest to comprehensive, and build a model on it to get a good projection of what's going to happen in Florida. So what have we found? Here you see the early vote poll estimate based on mail. Who's going to mail in the ballots? Well, this number here, the request early ballot ratio, is a combination of this and the total requested ballots. If the total requested ballots are well above 21.4% of the total here, then you're going to get a much higher number than 1. And that's what we're seeing for the Republicans. Democrats are right at 1, so their percentage is pretty accurate with respect to the pollsters. It looks like the pollsters nailed it there. And independents are a little high, so the pollsters were a little off there. What could it mean that the pollsters are missing Republicans who are voting early? A couple things. Could be that they're missing some of the early vote, which indicates that the polls may be undersampling Republicans, which is very possible, probably likely. It could also indicate that some Republicans are just going to request a ballot and not vote early. They're just going to vote in person. They just wanted to have the ballot just in case. Whatever it is. There's a way to test for that. If we get close to the early election period, or close to the early vote period, and it's coming to an end, I can always look right here, the total voted by mail early number, and I can substitute this number for this number and compare that to the percentage estimated by the polls, and that'll bring me back to a more accurate number. But right now what we're seeing is, because you can see the Republicans' estimated advantage in terms of total voters is over 1 million, which is obviously not going to happen, but that's because of this grossly unrealistic number here. So let's do a little experiment. Let's say this number should have been 30%. What does that do? That brings this ratio down to 1.2, and the Republican advantage is only 500,000. Let's say this should have been 33%. What does that do? Still an advantage for Republicans of 300,000. And let's just keep going. 36. Still an advantage for Republicans, 40. Boom. Still an advantage for Republicans. Folks, 40% of Republicans are not going to turn out and vote by mail. They may vote, they're going to vote in those numbers if you combine early mail and early in person, but they're not going to, 52% actually to be exact, if you combine both methods, but they're not going to 40% vote mail. It's looking to me like Donald Trump is in really good position in Florida. If I were on the campaign, I would recommend taking a few resources out of that state, spending more time in other states, maybe some blue wall states. So, again, if you like the video, give me a like, give me a subscribe. Trump's looking pretty good in Florida.